Welcome to the guided demo webinar. My name is Quan Wan and I'm from the product management team responsible for the cloud native technologies in APAC. And today, my guest speaker is Santiago Bastidas, who is the leading product manager for Oracle eBusiness Suite. And he will talk us through on how to move EBS workload to Oracle Cloud. Hey, Santiago, how are you? Would you be able to tell me in a few words, what are the key benefits of running eBusiness Suite on Oracle Cloud?
Hello, Guan. Thank you for having me. It is definitely a pleasure to be presenting today with you in this forum. In terms of benefits for moving eBusiness Suite into OCI, I think we have put together a few slides that I wanted to share with you. Let me start with covering some of those examples. First of all, a lot of customers are looking to the support for a single vendor, so that they don't have to be blaming one vendors versus other when running their business suite applications on infrastructure that is provided by somebody else. In this case, it's going to be one stack for the whole e-business suite deployment. And in terms of thinking about infrastructure as a service, customers that are currently looking at renewing or refreshing their hardware, they are definitely looking at cloud as an alternative. And the subscription model is definitely something very interesting for them. And also moving away from the capital expenditures versus operational expenditures, that definitely helps them out in the accounting. On the other side, looking at lowering costs because they only want to be using or paying for what they use in the subscription model. Improvements in performance, as we have seen for several customers that have already moved to OCI, they're definitely impressed with the performance that they can see in OCI. And on the other side is the fact that customers are looking at all the improvements that we have seen in OCI based on feedback from the eBusiness Suite development development team in this case, because we've been working very closely together to make sure that the services that are provided in OCI are definitely a very good fit for workloads such as EBS as well. So definitely excited to have participated in all those areas. On the other hand, eBusiness Suite, as you know, works with Oracle database and only with Oracle database. And a lot of those customers that deploy eBusiness Suite, they usually use RAC, real application clusters. And we definitely have several flavors of the database running on that, all the way from the base database service enterprise to Exadata database services. And now with the recent announcement of limited availability for autonomous database as well. We are definitely working to have autonomous database support generally available in the upcoming months, but that's definitely something that we are very excited about at this point. On the other hand, the customers are starting to look at also the investment that we're doing in terms of automation as well. So I'm part of the Business Suite applications technology team that builds the foundation of the technology stack for the Business Suite. My team is usually the team that supports patching, cloning, and all the utilities that are used as part of the EBS. With this new investment of EBS on the cloud, we're actually extending our reach. We are now able to even automate the infrastructure provisioning. We can automate the lift and shift process of existing environments and the lifecycle management of those environments as well. And by doing that, from the development side, we are actually reducing the risk and the cost of maintaining any kind of custom scripts that customers might have to perform these operations. And they are developed exclusively for OCI. So this automation is definitely not available in other cloud vendors. So I hope that gives you an idea of all the benefits that EBS customers are getting when moving to OCI.
And that's very interesting. Many customers are looking for a so-called lift and shift technology, something that would help move their e-business instances from on-premises to Oracle Cloud. Can you tell us more about this?
As I mentioned before, a lift and shift is one of the automated processes that we have implemented as part of our effort. But at the same time, I think it's important to understand that we have several areas of investment from EBS and our cloud infrastructure. Lift and shift, definitely really important to make sure that customers can move their e-business suite installations as they are, with all their configuration, with all their customizations, with all the historical data over into OCI. So that's one of the areas. The other area is the provisioning of brand new environments also for demo environments or new implementations. Demo environments are really useful when customers are thinking on testing new functionality available in the latest release for EBS, and they can actually spin up an EBS environment really quickly and just get to see what's available in that latest release. For new implementations, of course, customers that are thinking on starting a new implementation, that's definitely helpful. But once you have your environments in OCI, the third area that we're definitely focusing our effort at this point is lifecycle management. So you bring out your environments from on-premises, you bring out environments for demo or for new implementations, and at that point, you need to be aware of all the things that you perform with those environments. Like creating clones for those environments, like creating backups and restoring those backups, like performing the expansion on the installation that you have in the case that you need more capacity to perform certain operations. So you basically can add or remove nodes easily, taking advantage of the elasticity available in the cloud. The disaster recovery configuration is also something really interesting. And of course, all the services that are available now from an observability and monitoring perspective, those that are going to be specific to EBS. And in the case of customization management, it's still the use of the application management suite. The application management suite, specifically the EBS portion of it, that will help you create patches from your own customizations and deploy them as if they were EBS customers. So all those are the areas of investment. Now, let me also cover the deployment options that we have at this point. When I was talking about deploying a demo environment, we have an image that is available in the marketplace that can be used to bring out the application tier and database tier running on a single virtual machine. And that's definitely pre-configured for you with the latest release and with a demo database in place, so you can start looking at the new options, new features available in the latest release of the business suite. So that would be the all-in-one VM running on compute infrastructure as a service. Second alternative is to have multi-node VMs for the application tier and the database, all running in independent virtual machines, and all of them in infrastructure as a service again. That's definitely very useful when you want to simulate a production deployment. You can have dev and test environments that are definitely simulating what you have in production. And some customers actually decide to use this for a full-scale deployment, prod, dev, test, all in one side. Now, the majority of the customers, what we see is that they have like a multi-tier on the application tier side, but on the database side, they have database cloud service. And again, we will allow them to choose any of the flavors that we have for the database cloud service. Base database, enterprise edition, or Exadata, or now Autonomous also. So all those are the deployment options that you have in the case of e-business with MSC.
Hey, Santiago. We have been asked a lot recently if it's possible to use the WebLogic for OCI service for the EBS application tier. Can you tell us more about the service and tools that we have to help with the migration?
Sure, definitely, I can do that. Let me explain what the WebLogic Suite UCM Image-based VMs means from our perspective. We see several customers that when they deploy Business Suite on premises, they get perpetual licenses for running the Fusion middleware side of the equation. The application tiers are definitely going to be running with perpetual licenses. And that's very common for the production deployment and for some dev and test environments. In some cases, there are the customers basically have a few projects that they run, let's say for an upgrade or something that is going to be temporary. And for those cases, on premises, the only option that they had is to basically purchase a perpetual license for running the Fusion middleware, even though it was for something that was going to be temporary, so a project that was going to run for a little while. In this case, unfortunately, they have to actually purchase a perpetual license. Now, moving to the cloud, we were looking for an alternative for those customers, customers that definitely have temporary projects where they only need the license of WebLogic or the license for the Fusion middleware itself for a little while. They can actually just pay as they go. So they basically bring up an environment that has some of the all the application here nodes running with VMs that are based on the WebLogic UCM image. And while they need it, they are going to be paying for their usage, basically paying to satisfy the licensing requirements from EBS for that specific environment. And once the project is done, they basically just either destroy the environment or they shut it down, and they only pay when they use it. Again, the use case in this case is for temporary environments. If customers want to do an upgrade or patching or a temporary development exercise and they don't want to buy perpetual licenses, they will basically just bring up an environment deployed using these VMs that are based on this image. And once those VMs come up, they are going to start just paying for it. And the license requirement is going to be included for that. Now, for production deployments, we still would recommend customers to use the perpetual licenses for production. So they purchase the licenses and they can deploy them in a standard VMs based on OEL, Oracle Enterprise Linux, and then they use their own licenses to satisfy this licensing requirement for production deployments. If they need to expand their reach for production, expand the usage for capacity, we would recommend that for production, they definitely should be acquiring more perpetual licenses. WebLogic UCM images, very good for temporary projects again.
Oh, that's really appealing. Are you able to confirm that customer don't need a permanent license, but a subscription model with WebLogic for OCI UCM Image?
Yes, you are correct. Customers definitely don't need perpetual licenses for running EBS and OCI, perpetual licenses for WebLogic. They can use these WebLogic Suite UCM images to bring up some VMs and just pay as they go, pay as they need them. So definitely not required.
That's really cool. I think customers are looking for that.
Yes, definitely excited to share some information about the Cloud Manager. And let me give you a high-level overview of the Cloud Manager. The Cloud Manager is basically a web application that runs on a VM, on a customer VM on their own tenancy. And this web application helps or allows the customers to perform different activities like one-click provisioning. They can do advanced provisioning for very sophisticated topologies. They can definitely use it as part of the lift and shift process so that the customers can basically create multiple environments based on a backup that was taken from on-premises, or they can promote an environment that was created as a standby based on a reduced downtime lift and shift available also as part of the Cloud Manager. We have some images as well for something new in the user interface experience called Enterprise Command Centers. And that's definitely something that customers can expand as well. And in terms of lifecycle management, customers can do optimized backup of the EBS environments. They can schedule those backups. They can perform snapshot-based cloning of the EBS environments. We support for databases running in all the flavors that are currently in Premier support. And we are planning Also to support upgrade on database services, so allowing the automation for some of the patching services available in database services. And we are thinking about providing more granular elasticity features for the cloud, automated disaster recovery for the whole EBS environment, refresh capabilities, and many more things that are going to be available as part of the automation in the Cloud Manager. So yeah, I'm definitely excited to share about what's available in the Cloud Manager if you need a deep dive at some point for this.
Oh, I can see the usefulness of this tool. Can you explain to us a bit more about the process of the migration using the WebLogic for OCI UCM Image and the Cloud Manager?
Certainly. Let me cover the migration scenario so that you have an idea on how a customer migrates into OCI. Imagine that you have an e-business suite environment running on premises, and you have your application here and your database here, right below. You can see here. Now, the customer might have another Linux image or Linux VM running somewhere on premises. And what they do is they install something that we call the EBS Cloud Backup Manager on premises. This is a utility that will help customers create a backup of that environment and put it in Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. So the first step is definitely going to be to install this EBS Cloud Backup Module. Once you install the Cloud Backup Module, you run it, and the Cloud Backup Module is going to connect to the application peer node, to the database, and they are going to create a backup. This is going to create a backup in Oracle Object Storage, in a bucket in Oracle Object Storage. That's going to be a private bucket only available in the customer's tenancy. Once that is done, you then connect to the EBS Cloud Manager running in the customer's instance. And then from this point forward, you basically just create a new environment. You describe the environment that you want to create. You indicate that you want to use the backup available in the private bucket. The Cloud Manager is going to automatically deploy an infrastructure. It is going to restore the backup into that infrastructure as per your description, and it will configure the environment and bring up the services. And that's how you end up basically with an EBS environment in OCI. Now, as part of this second option, we call this the second step, the provisioning option based on the customer backup. What happens is that the customers get to choose the topology that they want to use. As part of that topology, the customer has, from an application tier perspective, the alternative of using based OS image. So it's a VM that is going to be running Oracle Enterprise Linux. And then the utility basically installs all the technology stack, including the Fusion middleware on it, and expects the customers to have their own licenses for running those VMs, and the licenses for Fusion middleware should be available to the customer. If they don't have licenses, they have the opportunity to select WebLogic UCM Image at that point. And with this UCM image, basically, the whole environment is going to be provisioned using the application tier nodes based on this image. So that's how they choose which model they want to use, either WLS UCM images or BYOL, in this case, using the base OS images. Now, from a file system perspective, they get to choose if they want to use shared file system or non-shared file system. For shared file system, we have file storage service, and for non-shared file system, we have block volumes available to them. In terms of database tier, it's all the flavors of the database, either the database with full BYOL and customer managed instance on a VM running infrastructure as a service, or they could use enterprise database service or Exadata database service as an alternative. We currently support eBusiness Suite 12.1.3 and 12.2, and in the case of 12.1.3, we definitely can support also the model of using the a UCM-based WLS UCM image for deploying a 12.1.3 as well, because we are satisfying the licensing requirement with these VMs. And it doesn't matter if it is not WLS what you're deploying, because in 12.1.3 we actually use OC4J. But in the case of 12.2, we use WLS. And in that case, the installation anyway is going to be coming from the installation from the customer side. So that's definitely not, we are not using the binaries that come with the WebLogic UCM image. We are deploying the customer binaries. The only thing that we're using here is really the subscription that is available to them for satisfying the licenses requirement. Now, in terms of database releases that we support, these are all sustaining support, and the premier option should be 19C at this point. And then the databases that we support from a new installation perspective is demo and the production for new implementations. And of course, we support backups from the customer's the site as well when doing our lift and shift process. So this is basically how we handle the WLS UCM as part of the lift and shift process.
That's great. Can we see the migration in action? Can you jump into the demo and show us how you can move a EBS-based application to Oracle Cloud?
Yes, we can certainly see a migration in action. Let me just start with that in a second. So in here, we have the eBusiness Suite Cloud Manager. The migration process, again, let me just explain at a very high level before we actually come to the Cloud Manager. When you have an environment running on premises, you have to install the EBS Cloud Backup module. That is a command line utility that is going to create a bucket in Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, and then it will create a backup of the application keynotes, as well as in the database that's running on the customer instance. Now, once that backup is created, the idea is that you come to the Cloud Manager, and in the Cloud Manager, you actually run a provisioning flow, as we call it. In that provisioning flow, you get to select the backup that was created from on-premises. So let me just give you a demo of the Cloud Manager. Then I'm going to walk you through the process of the provisioning so that you get an idea where you actually enable the WLS UCM. And in the meantime, I'm going to show you also a couple of environments so that you can see the difference. So this is the eBusiness Suite Cloud Manager. In the Cloud Manager, you get to see some of the compartments, the compartments that you actually define in your tenancy in OCI. In this case, I've created a compartment. And in this compartment, I have two environments that are assigned to me. One environment that is one of those environments that is one VM that has the application here in the database here in place. As you can see, you can actually access the login screen for EBS directly from here. We should be able to actually see also all the details about the nodes, the VMs that are in use in this case, and node ID. You can see the database and the application here have the same node ID. In this case, we're using VM shape with 2 cores and 30 gigs of RAM. See the IP addresses and everything else. Now, this VM is actually based on a base OS image, because what we do is we indicate that by indicating the middleware licensing model. Middleware licensing model is going to be BYOL in this case. Now, let's have a look at the other environment. This other environment has one application here, an application here node, and then one database. As you can see, they are definitely different. So the node ID is different. The database is running on compute in this case, and compute VM. And the application here, you define again the middleware licensing model. In this case, the middleware licensing model is UCM. So you're basically going to be paying for the usage of this VM, and you don't really need a perpetual license for run the WebLogic in this VM. You will use the UCM licensing requirements available in the UCM VM. So that's basically the difference between the two environments. Now, going back to the provisioning, once you have your backup, the idea is that you come here and you say, well, I want to provision an environment, and I'm going to use an advanced provisioning flow. In here, you will get to choose the compartment where you want to create your compartment, then a network profile that defines your network, the network that is going to be associated with this environment. And then you provide a name, and over here, you get to choose the backup that you will be using for your deployment. Now, to simplify things, because this interview process actually takes a little while, I'm going to switch back to PowerPoint to show you all the screens that are part of this provisioning flow. The first screen, as you saw, is where you choose if you want to have a new installation or provisioning from storage backup. In this case, we chose the storage backup. We're doing lift and shift, and you get to select the backup that you want to use. On the database side, you get to choose the flavor of the database that you want to use: compute, virtual machine databases, or Exadata DB systems. And then on the third screen is where you get to choose the middleware licensing model. You define all the application tier nodes. If you have multiple songs, if you have DMZ, you also specify that. You will indicate the number of application tier nodes that you want, the shapes for all of them, and all these details are available here, and what's going to be the web entry point for this deployment. As soon as you do that, you get to choose also the middleware licensing model, either BYOL, which is the default, or you get to switch it to UCM, and in this case, that's how you enable the usage for UCM in the Cloud Manager. Now, the other screens are basically just some extensibility options that we allow, so that customers can have their own custom steps as part of the provisioning flow. And if they want to add some additional SSH keys so that DBAs can access their VMs really quickly, or their infrastructure really easily after they have finished the provision. So that's basically the demo of the Cloud Manager and how you would get to choose the WLS UCM model for deploying your application pyramids.
Okay, Santiago, that's a really impressive demo. It is a really good example of a lift and shift technology that many of our customers are looking for today to move their EBS workload to Oracle Cloud. And Santiago, I have a question. I know many EBS customers are looking to upgrade their EBS. Can they upgrade their EBS during the migration process?
Yeah, thanks for the question about the upgrade. Well, customers that are planning to do the upgrade of EBS to the latest release, they get to choose if they want to do the upgrade on premises or they want to do it in OCI. Doing the upgrade as part of the lift and shift is something that could be accomplished, and I've seen several customers that have done it, but it all depends on the downtime that their business can manage. And the idea is that if you're moving your eBusiness Suite instance into OCI, before the upgrade, you get to take advantage of all the resources that you have in OCI once you move there to perform the upgrade. So you basically do a lift and shift of the current environment the way it is, and then you do the upgrade in OCI, and you use all the resources that are required for the upgrade. And then at the end, you end up with your production environment with an upgraded version, and any additional hardware or infrastructure that you needed can be discarded at that point. It can be shut down, and the customers will pay for what they use. I hope that answers your question.
That's really good. So it is easy to do lift and shift and easy to automate the process with the WebLogic for OCI UCM Image and Cloud Manager. So this will make the whole lift and shift process much easier. Thank you, Santiago.
Again, thank you for having me. This was definitely a pleasure to be sharing the scope with you in this webinar. So well, thanks a lot, and thanks for everybody that joined.
Okay, thanks for today's session. I hope you enjoyed the demonstration today, and I hope to see you all soon. Thank you. Bye.